most intense, thrilling, electrifying sport on the planet. Mixed martial arts. You've been looking for the definitive podcast to call your new home to hear everything about it. The search is over. This is the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. Bringing you the hottest MMA breakdowns straight from the heart of the octagon. This show is all about MMA breakdowns. For fans, by fans. We're talking UFC, MMA, and the occasional big boxing match. We'll bring our unique take on how these fights are going to play out and who we think are the best bets. Welcome to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. And now your hosts, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and Emiliano, a.k.a. Jive Turkey Nano.
What is up, fight fans? Welcome back to another episode of the MMAnomaly Show, No Filter. I'm your host, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and with me, as always, is the co-host with the most, Jive Turkey Nano. How are we doing, brother?
Let's go. Great intro, my brother. Great to see you, as always. Great to be back, and we got a great card to talk about and break down with you fine folks, gals, everything, guys, all across the world. We are happy to see you.
Fight fans of all shapes and sizes.
You know it. You know the vibes, baby. You know it. And representing one GOAT to another here. Got my Kobe shirt on, silencing the crowd, letting them know, hey, man, y'all better be quiet now. We got a show to talk about. It's a big one, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
It is. It is quite the show. We are here to break down UFC 309, folks. We are going to be talking about this card top to bottom, bottom to top, giving you our predictions, our best bets, and just overall which fights we're most excited about. And you know, as I say, God bless you to the co-host with the most. I'd be remiss if we didn't at the very least talk about the boxing match that we have coming up here, folks. Folks, I got to cut that music because two reasons. I don't want to get the DCMA, and I also don't think it's going to be a Rocky story. I'm worried. I'm afraid. It's a 58-year-old man, and we're talking about a 58-year-old man in real life, not a 58-year-old man in the movies here. So very worrisome stuff in my humble opinion here. I digress. We out here. We are out here. Nano. With that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into the bottom of UFC 309, my friend. Oh, what a fucking card. What a card. Even from the prelims. We've got some bangers coming in here, folks. Veronica Hardy coming in against Eduarda Moura. Who do you have in this one? Do you have a dog in this race, Nano? Or is this one that you might get up to grab a beer for?
Well, saying that we do break this down, and I don't want to sound like a complete imbecile next week, I will certainly be watching it. We'll be at my niece's 5-year-old party, so might be partially entertaining or maybe having to have it on the phone. All is well. I ain't no stranger to that. Not a ton of heat behind this one. I am going to lean the betting favorite here by a slim margin. And the girl that we're familiar with, you might recognize the last name. If you recognize Red Mohawks, if you're a true UFC MMA fan, you may know Dan Hardy, or AKA in this case, Mrs. Hardy, Veronica. I'm leaning her all the way here. 29 years old, 9-4 record, 1 KO, 2 subs. She's on a 3-fight win streak. Her opponent is 2-1 since her Dana White Contender Series a while back. That is Eduarda Moura I'm talking about. Very similar all around. I'm just curious to see if her power and submission skills are going to translate. She does have 10 wins, 4 KOs, 5 subs. Impressive again. However, our girl Veronica's been here before, and I do think, again, I mentioned her husband Dan Hardy, not just because we're fans of the fighter, as the commentator, of the analysis of the YouTube channel. Talking about myself here, loving Dan Hardy's stuff. Big fan of his. Go check him out. But I know she's gonna be well coached, have a good game plan. All things are just leaning that direction, and what I try to do. As I'm doing my breakdown and my notes and my analysis is I try not to look at the betting odds. I don't want to be influenced in any capacity. I try to avoid it. Just now looking, again, Veronica Hardy is a slim favorite at -148. It's going to be close. It's going to be competitive. To your point, might be okay if I'm not necessarily completely dialed in. Like I will be at the main event. I know that. But give me Veronica here. I don't know if you feel have any reservations, if maybe we're going to have a hive mind here and start off on the same foot. Or maybe you're the contrarian. Let the people know. Let's not have them waiting any longer.
I mean, as crazy as it sounds, man, we are going to start off on a hive mind here. We're channeling the same wavelength, my friend. Veronica Hardy, I think, has all the tools in the tool belt to take out a 10-1, better record, albeit Eduardo Maura. I think she's going to hand her second loss in her career here. Sure, she's giving up 2 inches here. Sure, she is the shorter fighter here. But again, you got to think that when most people go home to call it a day after training, they're going home to eat a good, nutritious meal and then go to sleep. She doesn't do that. She goes and eats a nutritious meal and then she talks for another 2 hours, 3 hours with one of the greatest minds analytically in the sport of mixed martial arts. And then they probably run more fucking drills outside in the garage. So, give me Dan Hardy's wife in this one. Give me Mrs. Veronica Hardy. I think she goes out there and gets it done, probably via decision. If I had to pick the actual outcome here, Veronica Hardy by decision, I think, is the live bet. And if you look at the Tapology bets here, let's see what these folks are saying. Oh yeah, 97.7% of the people that are betting on Hardy are picking her by decision. So I'm not that special after all. I guess I'm not that much of an anomaly. All jokes aside, I think that is going to be a really fun fight, and it should be a good test for both women involved. Moving into the next fight, we have a welterweight bout between Basil Hafez coming in against Oban, the Welsh gangster Elliott. Oh man, this fight has fireworks written all over it. If you recognize the name Basil Hafez, it's probably because of him stepping in on short notice against Jack Della Maddalena. Jackie 3 names. Some people actually thought he won that fight, but I digress. That's neither here nor there. He did land about a third of the strikes, but he did get 3 times as many takedowns. So you can be the judge of that one. And then he came out there and beat Mickey Gall in a very impressive fashion, in my opinion. But standing across from him is Oban, the Welsh gangster Elliott, a man who just is an absolute monster of a human being. If I remember correctly, he's like still working at the steel mill or the train yard or something, like some American Tale, fucking like gritty blue collar story. Dude is literally like the blue collar fighter coming out of his homeland there, being the Welsh representation himself. Look, I think everything about this guy is great. He is a kind of a decision man himself. So I think safest bet on this one is to probably take the over, at least over 1.5. But who do I have? I think it's going to be Oban, the Welsh gangster Elliott. He is the more tenured guy, just as far as wins go. They have about the same experience overall in professional fighting. But again, Oban Elliott, he's impressed me more in his last 2 fights in the UFC than Basil Hafez has in his last 2 himself. So definitely a step up for him compared to Preston Parsons as well, in my opinion, which was a canceled belt for Basil Hafez.
Nice, brother. Nice. I'll tap in here. I'm assuming you're taking a little break as you're swigging your water, but I couldn't agree more with you, brother. I think, want to reiterate my notes is, this is going to be an absolute banger. This is one I will be glued to the TV on. I will turn up the volume. I will tell my peers to my right and to my left or behind me, anyone within arm's reach, they may want to tune in if they want to see a knockout here. You mentioned the over, you mentioned the decision. Certainly live there as well. I think why I'm excited and why I even mentioned a potential knockout or at least a finish. Both guys certainly can find that path. But boy, are we going to see some great striking here from the Welsh gangster. That being Oban Elliott. Big fan. When you turn on the tape, it's a highlight reel. The dude's fun to watch. He comes in, he throws a lot of fun strikes. He has really good head movement. So he's not just, spraying and praying, as maybe we can call it. but he's got a tough son of a gun in front of him. So that's where maybe I'm probably going to take my words back and not necessarily bet the knockout or the finish. Two of these guys are tough as nails. It's going to be a gritty, grudgy affair for 15 minutes or as long as it does end up lasting. But to your point, brother, Basel, I mean, hell of a debut. This guy came in on short notice, and in some some circles, some opinions, people thought that he actually won against a JDM who is now in conversation to potentially fight a Colby Covington, a Shavkat, a Kamaru. Look at the rankings. The dude has a single digit next to his name. So he's a stud. He's the truth. And for Basel to stretch him thin like that, to really make him earn that, again, on short notice, maybe that has a little bit to do with it. But sign me up. I like everything I'm seeing from Basel. I was a little shocked to see him at plus odds, sitting at plus 230 currently. I typically hedge my my bushes and my trees and whatnot as a homeowner, and I try not to recommend hedging from a Ben perspective, but this is one I may hedge, ladies and gents. Maybe sprinkle a little bit on both. I do like Oban, but Basel is certainly a live underdog. I'd consider it. That's why I say maybe hedge that a little. But again, this is a fun one. Probably try to put one of them on the DK lineup for sure, but give me Oban Elliott here. It's going to be, I can't read it again. It might be performance of the night. I mean, this one can really seal the show if it goes the way I think it'll go. We're going to see some fun strikes. Maybe Bass will try to take him down, but I'm hoping it's a offensive delight here.
I mean, you could definitely be onto something there, Nano. I'm not against it. I'm definitely not opposed to it. I wouldn't be mad at seeing an early performance of the night. That'll definitely get the fans reeling and riled up. And speaking of something that'll get you reeling and riled up, we got a Mickey Gall fight at welterweight right after that, folks. I mean, I don't know about you, but Mickey Gall has definitely lost the allure that he came into the Ultimate Fighting Championship with. And now standing across from him, he faces Ramiz Brahimaj, who you might think would be one of the harder names to pronounce, but I'm going to surprise you with a name later on in the show that I'm going to have Nano pronounce. And I'm actually very excited about it because I've been mispronouncing this young man's name the entire time. But I digress. That's for later in the show. Right now, we're talking about Mickey Gall, folks, and how, I mean, the fact of the matter is this. The guy standing across from him is, definitely a little bit newer to the scene, right? Ramiz Brahimaj, fighting out of, where's this guy fighting out of? Oh, the United States. Yeah, fighting out of the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bronx. This guy has been in the UFC for a little bit longer than you would think. He's been in here since 2020, so he's a 4-year UFC veteran. Now let's talk about the resume. He does have 3 UFC losses and 2 UFC wins on his resume, as well as 2 canceled bouts. Let's start off with those. 2 canceled bouts. One against Michael Morales, absolute stud, and one against Carlston Harris. You can't control those types of things, right? But because of that, he sat on the shelf effectively for a little over a year. So he was supposed to fight Michael Morales in 2022, back in July, and then he was supposed to fight Carlston Harris in 2023 in February. Both those fights were canceled. His very next bout was in May of 2024 against a name you might remember, Timba Garimbo. My goodness. He definitely took the L in that one, right? Timba got a unanimous decision. But before that, his other losses came to Court McGee, legend. He lost the unanimous decision to that guy. And Max Griffin, right? He got elbowed and I believe his ear split or exploded or some shit. It was bad. Either way. What I'm finding out and go back and watch the tape on this guy is he is a solid fighter. He's very well-rounded. He does have options here. And I mean, if you look at the way he gets it done, by options, I mean submission, right? That's typically how he wins fights. If it goes to decision, he loses. If there's a knockout, he has lost. So, of all of his wins, all 10 of them are by way of submission. So, I think you probably should bet this guy by submission or just take him by money line. Right now, you can get him at dog odds, plus 120. And if there's one thing I love, that's right, folks, it is a fucking dog. So I actually really like that, and I might be throwing together a little bit of a parlay between Ramiz Brahimaj, Oban Elliott, and Veronica Hardy, which will get you plus 397 odds. Nano, what do you think about that parlay, and what do you think about this fight?
I like it, brother. I like what you're cooking up over there, Chef Curry with the pot, boy. I'm gonna lean on the same side as you, my brother. Look at us, all in agreement over here so far. Love to see it. We'll see if it lasts. I certainly don't think it will for the main event, but I digress. Yeah, give me Ramiz, man. Give me the guy from the Bronx. Give me the guy in his backyard in Madison Square Garden. That's what it's all about, okay? And I think that little push is certainly going to get him over the hump. He's 31 years old. Another Scorpio. His birthday is November 17th. Is that not that Saturday? I think it's going to end up being the night after. So, or who knows? Maybe by the I guess he's fighting earlier in the night. But next day is going to be his birthday. Why not a little bit of early birthday present for you, boy? All right? I mean, anyone could appreciate that. But like you said, brother, 10 for 10, 100% ratio submissions. So if we think he's going to win, you might as well just go ahead and double down on that and take him by submission as well. Mickey Gall's no scrub, though. I got to give him credit where it's due. 32 years old, 7-6 record, brutal, but he also has 6 submission victories of his own. So again, not just going to roll over and be a dead fish out of water there on the ground. He will, I think, put up some resilience, has not been submitted in quite a bit of time, but he has lost 3 in a row, that being Mickey Gall. And one of them was most recently to our boy we just talked about, Basil Havez. Didn't want to rain on the parade too much and, show our hand. But again, I'm leaning the guy that's trending a little bit in the better direction, although Ramiz is also coming off a loss to a tough Demba Garimbo. But over the last few years, literally since 2018, actually, you can go back and you can see he loses one, then he wins one. Loses one, wins one. Lose, loss, win, loss, win, loss. MMA Mass tell me he's going to win here. So I'm sticking to the trends. I got my reasons. There's some rhyme to it as well. Go ahead and I don't know, you might need to cue up that underdog soundbite because we're taking the underdog here plus odds. Come on, baby. Where my dogs at? Oh, they barking in the backyard, baby. They barking in the backyard. Let's go.
Let's go, folks. And like I said, if you put 1 unit on that one, you get 4.97 back. So 1 unit turns into just shy of 5. 4-unit return. Folks, come on. What are we doing here? I think we might have to hit that one. Think we might have to do it. Probably just going to do like a cheeky little half unit on that one. You know what I'm saying? Keep it nice, keep it light, keep it tight, folks. With that being said, we move the fuck forward. The next fight, we have a heavyweight bout between Marcin Tybura and Jonata Diniz. This fight is it's going to be interesting for sure. Look, Marcin Tybura, I mean, we got to call a spade here. We've seen him get knocked out. We've seen him get choked out. We've seen him get armbarred. We've seen him get finished, right? Actually, no, we have not seen him get choked out. We have only seen him get armbarred. Most recently by Sergey Spivak. But we have also seen him get knocked out. And the man standing across from him only does one thing, really, and that's knock people out. I mean, the guy has 8 fights, 8 wins, 0 losses. Only one of them has ever gone the distance. So I think he's probably live for a knockout here. But either way, I mean, there's quite a bit of volatility going into this one. Marcin is a favorite, but I don't necessarily understand why. He's had a very up and down trajectory in the last 5 to 10 fights, whereas the man standing across from him is seemingly just a world breaker of a human being. So maybe Vegas is seeing something I'm not here, but I think the speed and the power ultimately of Jonata Diniz are going to prove to be likely too much for Marcin Tybura, who, we've seen definitely get hurt by an Alexander Volkov, Tom Aspinall, which, yeah, sure, those guys are world breakers, but we also saw him get knocked out by Augusto Sakai in just 59 minutes. Shamil Abdurakhmanov got him beat by punches in round 2. So we've seen this guy get knocked out a number of times. I just think he's getting up there in age. He's getting up there in career and just miles and tread. He's 39 years old right now, which is just pretty up there in fight time. Meanwhile, Jonata Diniz standing across from him, just now coming into his fight prime at 33 years of age, Nano. Walk me off the ledge. Are we 4-for-4 right now?
Oh man, you are very convincing, my brother. You must be in sales or something. But I unfortunately, and I say that because maybe we're gonna miss on all four. That's probably knowing the MMA guys, they may be laughing upon us right now. But not gonna jinx it. Not gonna put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby. I am leaning Jonate Denise. I'm thinking that Vegas might be looking at his ability to not really defend the takedowns too well. That being Yonata. Still a little green around the gills, not as experienced as our boy Marcin Tybura. So all that octagon experience, I think, can pay dividends, which maybe is what's going into the odds here. We'll see how the line shifts, maybe when some of the money comes in. Or like we've seen right after this pod, they shift a little bit. Just saying. But no, I mean, again, you mentioned the age, and that's one thing I think I'm typically the guy that mentions it and says, hey, the younger fighter is more likely to win often than not, especially when you get in that 5, 6, 7. We're talking 6-year difference here. Might be a little too much tread on the tires. And again, I think Jonata's getting better each and every outing. I think he'll have an answer for some of those takedowns. I don't think they're going to be as explosive as some of the previous opponents that Jonata has seen. Again, Marcin, a little bit on the older side, and he's not like a crazy athlete jumping out the gym. Okay, he's just a big tough son of a gun who is gonna pose some threats. But again, I'm leaning Jonata. That power, I think, is gonna pay the piper here and really be the difference maker. And where Jonata will find a way to keep that O, stay undefeated, continue to build his resume as another tough Brazilian. 7 KOs with those 8 wins as well. Again, just to reiterate, I mean, the guy can get it done with just one. So let's go Jonata Diniz. I think I'm taking that too, brother. Honestly, I was feeling good about Ramiz at plus 120, but Diniz at plus 114 is even more tasty.
Tasty. Oh,
Yummy.
man. You're not wrong, brother. And dude, I'm honestly mind blown that we are hive minding it out right now. I feel like this literally never happens. 4-for-4. Can we go 5-for-5? That's the question.
I think so, because we know who we're about to talk about.
I know who we're about to talk about. Folks, we had a cancellation. We had a cancellation here. We were originally supposed to get a bout between Lucas Almeida and David Onama. But you know what? Mr. David Onama, he stuck around even though his opponent had to pull out. And now he faces Roberto Romero. That's right, El Charro Negro. But we're here to talk about the man who's probably going to win this fight. That's right, folks. We're here to talk about David Onama. If you don't know, it's a long story about going to UFC San Diego and some very drunk gentlemen that definitely had a bet on David Onama, who happened to have a very tough night at the office and just so happened to run into a choo-choo train. A Nate Landwehr, the train. So, folks, in this one, I got David Onama pretty much any way he wants to get it done. If I'm being honest here, his opponent is stepping in on very short notice, coming out of Campeche Global, which, you know, Campeche Global is great. It's a very solid feeder promotion, but it's just that, right? It is a feeder promotion. And he's stepping up quite significantly in competition, or rather level of competition, to go up against one David Onama. So I think David Onama likely goes out there, dog walks him, and gets a finish pretty early on. And shout out ADHD MMA in the chat. Do Bronx Nation. He's going to murk Chandler or I'll be depressed for 2 weeks. That's what he said in the chat, folks. And we really hope that you're not going to be depressed. I can tell you one thing we're sure to hear in the crowd on that night. That's right. Fun fact for all of you folks that might think it's like, you know, the Portuguese version of USA. It's not. They're chanting "You will die" in Portuguese, which is nice. That's friendly, right? We love that. We love the support. Yeah, that Du Bronx fight is going to be fun to break down. But Nano, before we get there, I got to hear you give me your pick for this David Onama fight.
And I love that you keep the music there, but how am I going to go against my boy David Onama? I am hoping that Roberto Romero comes out and, you know, goes guns a-blazing, and hopefully he can make a name for himself here. but I don't think he'll be able to get the W over, again, a tough, gritty David Onama, someone that's been around the block. He's on a 2-fight win streak, 4-2 in the UFC. Our boy Roberto making his UFC debut. I gotta see it before I believe it. Odd makers. I actually don't. Am I missing that one? I don't even think I see it on here right now. Hold on now. It may not even be betting accessible. That's how unpredictable it might be. Correct me if I'm wrong, my brother, but I'm not seeing it here on my DraftKings.
I'm not seeing it. Did this get canceled and maybe we're late to the party? What's happening?
Maybe they haven't came out with the lines yet. We are a bit early to the party. It is Wednesday. So if you're watching this later on in the week and it's there, we promise it was not there Wednesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday. And we're telling you, if you want to win this day, then take David Onama.
Take David Onama. Whatever line it comes out at, it's you bet your bottom dollar he's going to get it done. So without that being accessible, again, I'm taking the guy that I know. And still hoping for a good fight. I mean, you don't take this fight unless you're not ready. So let's see what El Chato Negro has to offer here. Come on. That's his nickname, by the way. And that's Roberto's nickname. Let's go.
That is a great nickname. And speaking of greatness, we have a lightweight bout coming up between Jim fucking Miller and Damon the Leech Jackson. Look, I mean, these guys are going to definitely want to suffocate each other. They're definitely going to be able to take this fight anywhere it goes, right? Both men are not afraid to stand on the feet and get into a scrap, a barn burner, if you will. And both men are also not afraid to engage in a bit of a good old-fashioned wrestling match. And between the two of them, folks, there's 86 professional bouts. That's right. The two men inside of the octagon for this one fight will have 86 combined professional bouts of experience together. So, I mean, again, you got to expect to see just a wealth of knowledge in the octagon on Saturday night when it comes to this Jim Miller versus Damon the Leech Jackson fight. Who do I have? Give me Jim Miller. He's the veteran in this one. He is 41 years of age, but his opponent is no young daisy, right? He's 36 years old himself. So you got to think that this guy is probably going to go out there and want to wrestle Jim Miller. He's not going to want to take those big shots that Jim Miller can throw. And Jim's gone out there and banged with the best of them, right? We're talking about the Dustin Poiriers of the world. And he holds his own typically, more often than not. So I think Jim Miller is probably going to go out there and land early to the body. And he's going to have Damon Jackson looking for his breath, looking to find his breath, like, where are you? And I'm so sorry. It's going to be a long fucking night. It really is, though. I think it's going to be a tough night for him. And Damon Jackson is one of those guys that I really like to root for. I really have gotten behind in some of his other fights. But gosh darn it, I feel like maybe he pissed somebody off at the matchmaker's room because they have not given him an easy run in the octagon, especially as of late. Nano, who do you have, and tell me why it's Jim Miller?
Because he's an absolute legend, right? And how do you bet against Jim A10 or Jim MF and Miller, right? Like you mentioned, my brother, 44 UFC fights for Jim Miller himself, and that's just in the UFC. His record's 37-18. Dude's been around the block. He's been doing this since I was a preteen, my brother, since 2008. I was 14 years old. Didn't even have my driver's license yet. Didn't even have my permit. I think I still had braces. Man, come a long way, and perfect kind of scenario for a Jim Miller, a legend, to have. I don't want to say it's going to be his exit. I'm sure he'll want to keep fighting, but just someone in the twilight of his career. This is a winnable match for him. Although Damon Action Jackson, certainly the name indicates he's going to come in there and try to handle his business. 23 wins for Damon, 4 KOs, and 15 subs for himself. So he's decorated, man. He has a path to victory here. All it takes is one mistake, one misstep when it comes to the ground game, and Jim knows that. He's going to be prepared for that. And the last thing here that I'll say about Damon Jackson, unfortunately, he's been missing in action, been a little MIA as of recent. 1-4 in his last 5. Let me reiterate that. I felt like I lost my voice. 1-4 in his last 5 fights, ladies and gents. Just an absolutely tough run right now. And you got a Jim A10 Miller in there in front of you. He's coming off a loss as well. That don't sit well with him either. He's gonna be a hungry dog. Think he's gonna go find a way to get it done. We got Daryl Clark in the chat here. What up, Daryl? What up, DC? They should have had Jim Miller on the main card. Couldn't agree more with you, my brother. I'm excited to break it down. I know it. But hey, I'm excited to break it down because each one does have its unique implications, as I like to say around here. But it's stacked. I mean, you can put him above Weidman. You know, these are some guys we're talking about here.
I mean, if we're addressing the elephant in the room here, at the risk of pissing some people off, possibly in the chat, you could replace Viviane Araujo versus Karine Silva with Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson, in my humble opinion.
Fair.
And you don't have to put him above Weidman. You just move Weidman up and you have them kick off the main card.
That certainly can be done. And maybe it'll change. We've seen crazier things. We've seen some shuffling before.
I just think it makes sense, Nano. Come on. I digress.
If it makes dollars, then it makes sense, baby.
If it makes dollars, it definitely makes sense, my friend. And with that being said, we are apparently just going to fucking agree on every single fight and have no traction and no anger or dust-ups or anything. No, there's no chance. We're definitely going to disagree on some of these coming up. In the next one, we have a middleweight bout between Mr. USA himself, Chris, the All-American Weidman, coming in against your boy, Eric Anders. I made the joke here that this is the bout of the boys, right? It's the battle of your boy, Eric Anders, versus he's still my boy, Chris Weidman. Loser of this fight is no longer my boy. I think that's what it all comes down to here, right? All jokes aside, I mean, this is a tough out because you have a 40-year-old Chris Weidman versus a 37-year-old Eric Anders. Both men probably looking to retire, make this their last fight. Both men with 16 wins to their name, one with 7 losses, one with 8. And both men having a pretty tough go at things in their last 5 fights or so. Chris Weidman coming off of being the guy in the poster here in the backdrop that you can see. He won that fight, by the way, against Anderson Silva. I think I was the only guy in the bar that thought he was going to win that fight. And also, fun fact, every time he fights on a card with Ronda Rousey on it, he wins. That's cool. Yeah, a little deep lore for you, brother. But no, this fight is tough because I don't know that Weidman still has a lot of the abilities that made him great and made him special before. After that leg injury, and you know exactly which leg injury I'm talking about here, folks. He lost a lot of the spring in his step, a lot of the pop, and also he doesn't throw kicks the way that he used to. He doesn't absorb them the way he used to. That's for damn sure. I don't know if you remember the way he was able to absorb some of those kicks against Anderson Silva, and not the first, but both fights. I mean, you definitely remember it from the second fight because he snapped Silva's leg with a leg check. So, I mean, it's just crazy how the tables turn in this sport and how Father Time is definitely undefeated. But at the end of the day, I think what it all comes down to is, will Chris Weidman be able to implement the reach advantage that he has of 3 inches? And will he actually be able to wrestle Eric Anders? Because if he can't wrestle Eric Anders, it's going to be a sloppy striking match between 2 guys that are probably going to look tired across the second half of the fight. And if that's the case, from what I've seen in history, Eric Anders does really well in those sloppy fights, man. He makes them nasty, he makes them dirty, and he makes you work. If that's the case, I think he probably goes out there and gets the W on Saturday night. But my heart of hearts, it just won't let me bet against Chris Weidman. So the bet and the shot are on Chris Weidman. Who you got, Nano?
Man, Yargo and Weidman. I guess we are still going to be in alliance, but I will say here, caveat, gotta throw an asterisk out there, gotta throw the caveat here. What's up, Ashley?
What up, Ash?
Let's go.
From across the pond, my guy. What time is it over there?
Time to tune in, baby. Let's go. Great to have you. Let us know how you're feeling about these fights. We're talking about our boy Chris Weidman, who, again, why I'm saying caveat here, asterisk, because I am a biased man here, okay? 4 a.m., let's go. Jeez. Hey, top of the morning to you. Let's go. It's usually close. I don't start my day that early, but close to that early. Let's go. Well, we'll keep it entertaining here. Again, let us know how you're feeling. You have any questions, any thoughts, any feels about this card? But
listen, who you got in this one? You going with Weidman or are you going with your boy, Anders?
Yeah, there's still going to be someone's boy regardless after all this when it's said and done. But we met Chris Weidman, and he's super freaking cool. How do I shake a man's hand, tell him he's a beast, and keep on keeping on, and to bet against him? Right? To be in front of a microphone and say, I don't believe in you. That's not what I'm going to do. That's not what I'm about. Okay? Goes against my heart of hearts. It's not how I'm built, man. It's just like I actually said in the chat, you're going Chris, man. We all going Chris. We are in the Weidman train, baby. Chugga chugga. I think he's just going to find a way to get it done. He's a dog. So at plus 102 odds, Vegas isn't that confident either. Plus 102, come on. What are we talking about here? You might as well give him the minus 115 at this point. But again, man, he's been through it all. He's seen it all, done it all. You did really hit a nerve with me there. I'm actually picturing a little bit of a maybe lackluster, maybe slugfest here. But again, these guys are both in the twilight. Weidman being 40, Anders being 37. But this is the type of fight we need to see. We need to see more of these types of fights. If you're 35 plus and you're not a Michael Chandler who's robotically, freakishly gifted and trying to make that last push, or you're not a previous champ or was already in that kind of realm, like don't stop putting him up against these young up and comers, man. We got Drew. I poke him, Chris. Everyone gets one. That's fair. He's got one in the chamber. He's got a freebie. And is it true? Are they not using the new gloves, or are they? Is this a controversy real? Are we gonna see a bunch of eye pokes?
I'll do the first shot of the show to that, and to Drew hopping in here. Look, man, they're not using the old gloves because what had happened was they sent John Jones a pair of the gloves, and he literally just said that he didn't want to wear them. Basically, he didn't like them. He said they were uncomfortable. So, I mean, that's that, I guess. Even though he said that they were uncomfortable the way they made you bend your hand to do a fist, which is kind of what you're supposed to do when you're fighting with your fist.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember Dustin Poirier right after wearing them against Islam in a fight that he lost. He still didn't complain about the gloves and said that he liked them much better because they made you form a natural fist. Shout out Miss Mary in the chat here with just a money comment. John makes the rules. John does make the rules. Look, John failed a drug test one time. And so what did they do? They didn't cancel the fight. They didn't pull him from the fight. They moved the entire 13 fight card. 26 fighters, 26 people's fight teams, 26 different fighters' families that flew out to see them, went to another state to watch the fucking fights. Why? So that the athletic commission would allow John Jones to fight with a picogram inside of his system of an Olympic level steroid. So
the pico
John definitely makes the rules, folks. Whether it's a gram, a kilogram, or a picogram, you know it is John Jones's gram. Okay, that's just the way it works. Yeah, so Daryl Clark said, I heard something about Hunter Campbell bringing back the old gloves for this pay-per-view because there's a lot of veterans on this card that are used to having them. Daryl Clark, I love that. And that's true. The only thing true about it, though, is that it came out of John Jones's mouth. It's actually not true at all. That's not a real reason because, again, they brought the fucking fight, the new gloves out for the first time for Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev. Dustin Poirier has more fights in the UFC than anybody on this card. Sorry, son.
Well said, brother. Well said.
And that guy literally said that he likes the gloves. I posted a clip of John Jones's comments followed by Dustin Poirier's comments on the gloves, the very same gloves, which I've got literally right back there. Boom. And granted, I did say they're much smaller fitting than the OG UFC gloves, which I've also got here. But you just get a bigger size. Like Mary made a funny point earlier when she said, she posted it on Twitter as well. She said, look, John Jones, if a new brand came out and it made me go up 3XL, I would probably blame the brand and be upset too. And John Jones did say that he used to wear an XL and now he has to wear a 3X in the gloves and they still fit tight. So, you know, maybe John's feeling like he's getting fat shamed here. I don't know. But either way, they definitely are manipulating the rules a little bit for John Jones here so he can hit those eye pokes nice and clean. So cheers to the listeners, cheers to you, cheers to the fam, and cheers to the crew. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be right here listening to us on this beautiful Wednesday, as my co-host likes to say, as we break down these fights. Cheers,
Let's
folks.
go. Cheers, y'all. Don't be discouraged. I'm drinking water. I am still recovering from this sickness. I got a little too down with the sickness, but yeah, man. I think we're continuing to be hive mind here. Give me Weidman all the way, baby.
Wide man. Give me the wide man, baby, all effing day. Now, the next one is one that I'm a little bit torn on. I've definitely gone back and forth on this one quite a bit. We got Jonathan the Dragon Martinez coming in against Marcus Archer McGee. That's not his actual nickname, but it should be. If you've ever seen the movie Small Soldiers, I am Archer, emissary of the Gorgonites. That is him. He is him, as the kids say. And there went my last brain cell. It's gone. No, he does literally look like Archer from Small Soldiers in the best way. And I think that he's probably going to come out there and hit him with the Archer crossbow, right? Because this man is an absolute fucking savage, which isn't far from his actual nickname, the Maniac, right? So the man is a maniac. The man is a savage. And I think the man is going to be live for a finish on Saturday night. Jonathan Martinez most recently went out there and took the L to Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo went out there and landed over 100 strikes against him. Over 70 of those were considered significant. And he got one of two takedowns. Jose Aldo, I don't know if you know this, not a big takedown guy. Not a big wrestle guy. So if he was able to get a takedown on you and land some big shots, what is Marcus going to do? I think Marcus might have the potential to go out here and really big brother Jonathan Martinez, but Jonathan Martinez's biggest strength is going to be those leg kicks, man. And if Marcus doesn't check him early and check him hard, it's going to be a long night at the fucking yard. I'm worried, brother. I'm worried. It could really go either way. But gun to my head, I think you know who I'm taking here. Give me the Maniac. Who you got, Nano? Are we riding this one the whole card?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we got to veer off at some point here, but we're some maniacs on the floor. He will get away like we've never picked before. Yeah, man. How do I go against my boy repping Phoenix, Marcus Maniac McGee? I did shoot my shot. Try to get him on the pod. He did not respond yet, but I'm hoping that comes through after we talk so glowingly about him.
All right,
but he's gonna go.
Job, champ.
He's gonna find a way to get it done, man. 34 years old, 9-1 record, 8 KOs, 1 submission. Do the math. That's 100% of the time he has not needed the judges' scorecards. He's 3-0 in the UFC. That's probably most significant. 2 subs, 1 KO. Dude's legitimate, okay? And this is the next step on that path to really establishing himself as the next dude here in the bantamweight division. And what better way to do so than a Jonathan Dragon Martinez? Literally has to go out there and slay the dragon. Gotta love it. This is fairy tale-esque. This is comic book-esque. Can he slay the dragon? Can the Maniac do it? Maybe he's crazy enough to try to go ahead and get it done. But our boy Jonathan is coming in here. You mentioned that loss to Jose Aldo. And frankly, that's really his only blemish. I mean, he did lose to Davey Grant back in 2021. But after that, he went on an absolute blitzkrieg. stacked up 6 wins, beat a Said Nurmagomedov, beat a Cub Swanson, beat a Adrian Yanez, which I was really leaning Adrian heavy that fight. But the leg kicks can certainly be debilitating. And I think that's why Vegas is probably looking at, well, shit. I take that back. Jonathan Martinez is the dog here at plus 110. And I've been liking my dogs tonight, y'all. You know that. But I can't go against my guy Maniac. If he was a dog, I was going to definitely pull the trigger there. But this is a really close one, like you said, brother. I mean, stylistically, man. I mean, Jonathan Martinez poses a lot of threats. I mentioned those leg kicks. I need to reiterate. Dude will blast your leg completely off the hip socket. Like, he is debilitating with the leg kicks. But Marcus McGee also possesses a lot of those same skills. He's gonna, and I do think he can neutralize it if he needs to. He has the ground game. He can take him down. He's a big, strong dude for the division. I mean, just look at him. I think he's gonna find a way to beat the Gargonites on this one, brother. He's gonna get it done. Oh, I see the lips moving. Here we go.
The light's on, but nobody's home. Oh man, no. So you're going McGee on this one, or are you going Martinez?
Man, I'm going the Maniac. I'm going Marcus McGee.
All right.
Repping Phoenix, Arizona.
You said defeat the Gorgonites. I was like, hold on, he leads the Gorgonites, brother.
Oh shoot. Okay, then he's gonna.
That's why I was like, oh wait, hold on.
No, he's teaming up with the Gorgs. My bad. See, that's
teaming up.
I gotta rewatch the movie. Yeah, he's beating the small soldiers. Other guys.
It's a throwback. It's a bit of a throwback.
There we go. Yeah,
but
he's
it holds
small
up.
Soldiers.
Oh, it holds up.
Oh, dude, great movie. Great. I gotta rewatch it actually. In fact, I'm gonna have to bust it out for the kids. That's the one. The nephew's gonna have to watch that one.
Dude,
yep.
Absolutely. That's a nephew-worthy movie for damn sure. And I know you said he's not a dog, but you get him an almost pick 'em odds here right now at minus 130, folks. That's not bad. You almost double your money. You get like 1.76 back off of one unit. So we'll take that. We might have to throw a little sprinkle on that one, folks.
I'm staying away, brother. I'm staying away. Stay clear.
It's volatile. It's a volatile.
Fight. Kick back and enjoy the fight. There's going to be some fireworks. If you're betting on it, you're obviously going to be a nervous Nelly like I would. So I'm staying clear, but definitely rooting for the boy Maniac. Let's go, baby. Get it done.
Abso-fucking-lutely, man. Now, this next one, I did tell you that there was a fight that I was going to make Nano pronounce the names on. So, Nano, why don't you lead us out for this lightweight bout? It's going to start off the main card.
Here we go. Kicking off the main event of the evening. We have the guy, part of the Fighting Nerd crew. That's right. You heard it here first. We were just talking about those fighting nerds. Well, they're back again. We got a Mauricio Ruffi. Oh, man. Maybe Ruffi. Ruffi sounds Ruffi.
Ruffi.
Is it Ruffi?
Yeah, because he puts you to sleep, brother.
That's right, baby. And that he does, my brother. Thank you for saying that. 28 years old, but this guy's 10-1, 10 KOs, 100% of the time. He's putting your lights out and reading you a lullaby as well. 2-0 in the UFC, most specifically. And my God, I want to take off my fighting nerd glasses right now and my goodness here. What he did to Jamie Malarkey was borderline illegal in some countries, I believe, brother.
There was no malarkey there.
There was no malarkey. He beat the malarkey out of him. He beat the crap out of Jamie Malarkey. He beat it bad, brother. He beat him real bad. He made bad people look not bad, okay? This guy Mauricio is no joke, though, brother. All jokes aside, what we're going to see here is a fighting nerd that I truly think spent time watching comic books or reading comics, watching superheroes fight, and I think took a page out of their book. I think he's going to go out there, and we're going to see some vicious elbows from angles we hardly ever see. We're going to see vicious intention behind them all. He's a special, special dude. Again, another just young, up-and-coming Brazilian dude representing the fighting nerds. They're not missing. I mean, they are all swinging a hot bat right now. I cannot hit my microphone. I cannot bet against any fighting nerd under any circumstances until proven otherwise. And that's just where it's at, okay? I am buying the hype train. I do think iron sharpens iron. We say it a lot around here, but what better way to prove it? It's just look at the odds. I mean, that's a little disrespectful for my boy James Yontop over here. nickname's Goku. He's going to have to go Goku mode on this. He's going to have to get the Spirit Bomb going. He's really going to need to rally here, boys and girls. And what up, Sav? Speaking of, excited for the card, excited to talk about it, excited as well. We all share that same enthusiasm, baby. But again, very equally excited about this fight. James Yaltop's coming in with some experience, so 14-4 record, 7 KOs, 1 sub. He's on a 2-fight losing skid.
I have to cut in real quick.
Talk to me.
What's funny is I know when I told you to announce this fight because there was a tough name, you thought I was talking about Mauricio Rufy. But I was actually talking about James Yantop.
Oh, Yantao, James. Freaking James.
I've called him James Lantop like the last 2 times.
Well, looking at him, I guess he certainly doesn't look like a James.
Yeah, it's James Yantop. Yeah, from Peru. Such an interesting pronunciation of the way the name's spelled. But sorry to derail your train.
No, hey, I did because I did just slip it on in there. And I was really mostly concerned with the last name there, Yantop. I was hoping to say that one right, but hopefully, 50% credit there. I was on top of the last name, but he's not going to be on top of Mauricio. It's going to be a long night for the boy. But he's young. He's 25 years young. He'll lick his wounds and get back in there. But it's not going to be his night. Fighting nerds are going to find a way to get it done. This guy's no joke. I'm assuming we're on the same page here. Still.
I mean, come on, brother. I am definitely a nerd here. I am definitely a fighting nerd. So, I mean, here's the thing. The fighting nerd is definitely going to win this one, in my opinion. James Yantop has definitely pulled some short straws since joining the UFC. He's been fed to Chris Taco Padilla. And then he was also fed to Slavikolas, a.k.a. Vyacheslav Borshev. I mean, not easy outs. And Mauricio Rufy is the worst one of all. Like, I feel like he just keeps getting worse opponents. So, what's good to my guy S-Dog's MMA Talk? Give him some air horns. Man's dying over here cutting weight. Has a fight on Friday. Got weigh-ins tomorrow. How many more pounds you got, big dog? You don't have to say it in the chat. I mean, your opponent might be in here.
Stretch.
He's probably not, though. But no, I'm sure you're almost on weight. I can't wait to see the fucking fight. Can't wait to hear all about it. Hit him with a couple more fucking sets of air horns here. And, I mean, look, dude, go back to the fighting nerd here. Mr. Rufy himself. Look, I said it earlier. Like, just like when I say Rufy, if you ask me, are you talking about the drug or the fighter? I'd say either way, he's going to put someone to sleep. And they're not going to be happy about it, right? So, look, Mauricio Rufy is that fucking guy. He is disturbingly smart intellectual when it comes to actual fighting inside the octagon. And also, this dude pulled off the scorpion jumping leg sweep in his last fight. Like, dude is a fucking stud when it comes to making it look cool in there. He's strong, he's long, he's down to get the friction on. Give me the fighting nerd, Mauricio Rufy over James Yantop. And with that being said, we are moving into a women's flyweight bout. Look, folks, we are in a fantasy football league. We do side bets in this fantasy football league. My guy Drew, kind of a dick. He bet me these things called anytime push-ups, and apparently he's wanting to see some of those take place while Nano does his breakdown here. So Nano, if you would be so kind as to break down this next fight first, the women's flyweight bout between Viviane Araujo and Karine Silva, while I bust out 10 quick ones.
Couldn't even do us a favor and put it in the chat. He had to do it separate. This guy, brother, I digress.
Brother, throw it in the chat, brother. Give me some dignity here, dog.
At least give us a little bit of a boost. Love you, Drew. That's actually fantastic. Now that I got the stage, the show is mine. I hijacked it for a second here. I can say whatever I want, but I'm going to stick to the script here. Karine Silva, I think, is going to find a way to get it done. 30 years young, 18-4 record, 9 KOs, 8 submissions. That is 17 out of 8 of her wins have been by finish. Judges can probably take the night off on this fight. Boy, I think she's the next shining star. I do hold her with that really, really high regard. 5-0 in the UFC, really solid streak she's building upon here. And 4 of those 5 wins in the UFC have been by submission. She's continuing to get it done at the highest level against the cream of the crop. And it's another example here with a Viviane Araujo. Oh man, this is the tougher one. You might have stumped me unbeknownst to yourself there. But give me Vivian, but I think Vivian has a striker's chance, just like anyone does. But at 37 years old, she's 7 years older than her opponent. 12-6 record, not the best. 3 KOs, 4 subs. So she's certainly durable, and she has that puncher's chance. But 3-4 in her last 7. I can't find a good reason how she's going to go in here and upset the trending soon-to-be star here in Karine Silva. Tough opponent. She's a little bit shorter, stockier, has that low center of gravity. So you're not going to be able to get her down and get into a favorable position there. And she can strike with the best of them. She's sitting at a minus 260 odds right now, favorite. I could see that even going higher when it's all said and done. I mean, what else can I say? I think she's really, really good. She's got a really good, well-rounded game. And Vivian, I think at this stage, just won't have, I think, the tread on those tires, to use the same expression again. Especially as it gets later on, the second, third round, see her starting to fade. Again, she has those losses. And I think that's part of the tale there as you get a little bit older. And you got this young buck just trying to rip your leg off, trying to get you to the ground. It's going to be a fun matchup, but I'm leaning Karine, and I think we're going to see a little bit of a clinic here. But we got some action in the chat. S-Dog, hey, man, I know you're going through it over here, but no, you're not tripping. You are not seeing things. This is not an illusion. This isn't an separate universe. Our boy MMAnomaly was doing some push-ups. This is no filter. He was asked, and he shall deliver.
We out here. A bet made, a debt paid,
Damn straight.
And they're solidarity push-ups for you, Sterling. Well, we were cutting weight right now, brother. Live.
We're here with you, baby. Let's go.
So
I'm assuming you're on the same boat, though. I mean, again, going with Karine Silva, going with the favorite, going with the young buck. Are you around the same wave, or are you going with the old bull here, going to teach her some lessons? What are you thinking?
Man. I'm here to tell you. Look, I like Karine Silva. I do think that she's a beast. I do think that she has skills to pay the bills. But I also think that she has not fought anybody near the caliber of opponents that Viviane Araujo has fought. Viviane Araujo has fought an Amanda Ribas. She has fought a Natalia Silva. She has fought an Alexa Grasso. She's lost to all 3 of those ladies, but she has fought them to decision. So that's impressive as all get out. While her opponent, I mean, has definitely come in on a hell of a win streak here over the likes of Poliana Botelho, Marina Moroz, Ketlin Souza, Ariane, Queen of Violence, Lipski. But that's it. Right? I think if she had actually had that fight against Lauren Murphy probably would have beat her. I think this fight is probably going to be a very, very big proving ground moment for Karine Silva, and I think she might come up a little bit short. Viviane Araujo does have a 1-inch reach advantage, and she is someone that does know how to use that reach advantage. We saw her do that over Andrea KGB Lee when she outlanded her by over 30 strikes, and also outlanded her in total takedowns, right? She outlanded her 2-1 on takedowns, 3-1 on takedowns in that fight. I think she'll probably be able to do the same thing over Karine Silva. I know Sav is going to say I told you so next week if Karine Silva wins. I know. Okay, but at the risk of that happening, I'm gonna go with my better judgment here, or rather against my better judgment, and go Viviane Araujo. I just think that she's been training for a rematch against Natalia Silva. Do you remember how that fight went for her? Natalia Silva looked like a fucking Marvel superhero. And her power was super speed and slick ass fucking taekwondo, right? So look. I'm not even gonna look at the chat, okay, Seth? Just respectfully, fuck you. I think if she was training for Silva and she was really trying to get that one back, Or sorry, not Silva. Yeah, Natalia Silva. Sorry. They're both named Silva. It's confusing. She was training for Natalia Silva, and she got Karine Silva. I think Karine has like an easier fight than a Natalia Silva. So I'm gonna take Viviani in this one. Give me Araujo. I think the old dog teaches her some lessons. Give me the dog. Wait. The line has already shifted on the Marcus McGee fight, folks. This happens
like clockwork.
Time,
I done told you. What'd I say?
So it's down to minus 142 now. It was minus 130 when we had that conversation. What, 15 minutes ago? 20 minutes ago?
And they're listening. They're listening.
Come on, bro. So,
that's hysterical.
Yeah, the odds are steadily dropping. So if you want Marcus the Maniac McGee at damn near pick'em, now's probably going to be your shot. It looks like the lines are coming in on that young man right now, folks. And with that being said, we are just steamrolling right the fuck through this one, guys. We've got just a handful of fights left, and the next one is a middleweight bout between not a dime, not a penny, not a quarter, but a nickel. That's right, folks. Bo Nickel coming in against Paul Craig. Hit us with your best, Paul Craig. No.
We're talking about the Paul Craig.
Paul Craig. Oh, man. Paul Craig's coming in here. I'm super fucking stoked about this one. I think this is going to be a barn burner for as long or short as it lasts. And I'll keep my breakdown extremely short, and I'll pass it to you, Nano. Here we go. Okay? 15-minute fight. I think 14 minutes and 45 seconds of it are Bo Nickel domination. And then with 2 seconds left to go,
fatality.
Triangle choke from the bottom. Paul Craig takes a head back home to Scotland. Look, brother. Look, bro. I mean, you can take his consciousness, but you'll never take his freedom. Give me Paul Craig. I just, against my better judgment here, I know he's probably not going to win the fight. Statistically, math speaking, he should not win the fight. Bo Nickel is a minus 1,100 point favorite right now. Okay? But Paul Craig is plus 700. You put 1 unit on him, you get 8 back. And let's just take a quick look, shall we, at what Paul Craig is by finish. Not even by submission. Let's just do Paul Craig inside the distance. You get him at plus 900. That's wild. And if you're feeling super duper super froggy, you just take him by straight sub. That's plus 1,200. I'm going to find a way to hedge this. I'm not going to do it on the show because I'm going to do some math, but I'm going to make money on this fight. Right? No matter who wins, I'm going to make money on this fight. Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. Nano,
I like
who
it.
do you have and tell us why it's the obvious choice here in Bo Nickel?
Well, you certainly did paint a good picture there. And I think the moral of your story is Paul Craig can certainly turn the tide at any point. He's always game for a submission. In fact, that's really what he does best. We all know that. Paul Craig, 36 years old, 17-8-1 record, 4 KOs, 13 submission, ladies and gents. But he's been KO'd before. Now, I mention that, but I kind of say it half-heartedly because that was in a different weight class. He is in the middleweight division now. He did spend a lot of his time in lightweight. It's kind of a tweener. So 1-2 in the middleweight division. Not ideal, but when you look at those opponents, one being a Brendan Allen, our boy BA, all in on him. He's an absolute stud. We already know that, so he's bona fide. We get it. And the other guy is a fellow fighting nerd. We're talking about a Caio Barajo. He's like the big nerdy brother there for that crew. So I guess my big question is, is Bo in that category at this stage? Is he on their level? I certainly think he's closer to them than he is, an Andre Muniz or some of these other guys that Paul Craig has fought and grappled with in the past. But all things considered, man. I mean, Bo, he is 28 years old. You might think that's concerning with only 6 fights, 2 KOs, 4 subs, 100% finish rate. But 5 of those fights have been in the UFC now. Yes, I know, maybe not the most high-level opponents, last-minute substitutions, all that good stuff. But I think this is the right challenge at the right time for a Bo Nickel. And I do think style will make fights, and that is the one thing I'm going to be watching here is how does a true dominant wrestler translate to the MMA wrestling, and can that hold up against someone who I guess is probably more known as a MMA BJJ or MMA Jiu-Jitsu specialist, but he's got the MMA grappling, and I don't know, you could maybe correct me if I'm wrong there. Maybe he's just a true BJJ guy in terms of Paul Craig's style. But again, Jiu-Jitsu guy versus the wrestling guy. This is going to be a fun matchup. Who's going to have the upper hand? And when I really break it down and just looking historically, talking about the guys that are the kind of sit on your butt and jiu-jitsu with you, the wrestlers typically have the upper hand. But Paul Craig is a true mixed martial artist. I think from the striking perspective, Bo probably has them, and then just grappling, strength, and then the body awareness, positional awareness, even just scoring takedowns. Like, I do think Bo's gonna really have the upper hand here. I mean, this dude is a legendary collegiate wrestler. I mean, we just saw what Kamzat did to a Rob Whittaker. I mean, I want to spend the time to just, we spent a lot of time talking about the Dagestani wrestlers, these Russian wrestlers, these other programs, but Bo Nickel is just about as good as it gets to represent American wrestling. He's that good. I mean, I think he was state champ 3-4 years at Penn State. Hasn't lost a match, hasn't lost a round. I don't think he gave up a point his junior, senior year. It's the list goes on and on. So we're talking that level. We're talking the Khabibs, the Kamzats. I mean, man, I don't even know who else would be in that same realm nowadays. Islam, obviously. But that's the kind of pedigree that he's coming in here with, almost Olympic-esque. So give me Bo Nickel. We are obviously verting past here a little bit, but I don't think I'm necessarily crazy in thinking that Bo's going to find a way to get it done. Obviously, the odds certainly suggest it. But hey, if you're feeling froggy, maybe you leap into a Bo Nickel in the first round finish. Maybe he just truly goes in and gets it done. I mean, his fight time is extremely low right now. So that could be something. And then to your point, my brother, if you're going to hedge it, maybe you just straight up go Paul Craig by submission. That's probably going to be how Paul Craig will get it done. But he's not. Give me Bo. Come on.
Oh, man.
You pulling up the odds?
I am looking at the odds. So I don't know why I feel like Paul Craig gets it done in round 3 if he gets it done. That's plus 4,500. That's
Bo hasn't sniffed it. That's the thing. It's he just goes out there and...
That's the thing. If he takes Bo to a third round, I think Bo might just be like, what the fuck do I have to hit this guy with? And then that's when Bo's not going to be thinking and just be throwing. And that's when he's going to throw an arm, get a double wrist trap, and then just fucking get triangle choked. If you've sparred, you've been there. You go against the guy that you're visibly better than. You're working his shit for the whole fucking round, and you're like, what do we have to do to make this guy quit? And then he taps you out, and you're like, you fucking douchebag.
Yeah. Well,
and that's the thing, man.
Yeah. Well, and shout out to Izzy Adesanya. I was listening to his pod earlier, and he was talking about the whole idea of being in the fight. It's one thing to replicate it, things like that, but it's hard to know what it feels like to be in the furnace, to really feel that heat in the kitchen. But really, I mean, he's competed at the highest level, and some of those wrestling matches are bonkers. I mean, you want to talk about just pure exhaustion. I'm sure he knows what that feels like, but in the octagon, it's a little different. So again, he still has some questions that need to be answered. We've yet to see it, so we don't know. but can he handle the heat in that kitchen, right? Can he still shoot, 4, 5, 6, 7 attempts in the 10th minute, in the 15th minute? That's what we're going to have to find out. Maybe he doesn't need that long. Hasn't yet, but a Paul Craig will certainly stretch you. Let's go, baby.
Paul Craig will definitely stretch you, man. I mean, it's a situation of, how, again, like, what happens if you can't take him out in that first 2 rounds? That's ultimately what it's going to come down to for me, is if you can't get him finished in those first 2 rounds, I truly think that it could prove to be some trouble for the young man, right? But like you said, Nano,
Uh-oh. Got the spinning wheel here. We might have lost our guy. I think he was going to say, you're absolutely right. You're the best co-host. You're never wrong. I admire you. Probably things of that nature. No big deal. But as he gets booted back in here, we got to keep this train moving, y'all. I'm not going to just sit here and be a pretty face smiling on camera. It is the co-main event. I'll try to stall as long as I can, y'all. But again, to reiterate, we're going Bo Nickel from a Ben perspective. There he is. There we go.
Jesus, what is happening with the internet tonight? Jeez.
You were a little grainy there. It was reminding me of the early '90s, or looking like a box TV over here.
Sorry, guys. Don't mind my internet sound there.
That sounds exactly what's happening here.
Good Lord.
Your server went out.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for keeping the show afloat there in my absence. I'm not really sure quite what happened there, but I digress.
Didn't miss anything, brother. We're back, baby. Just reiterating that some fun bets to potentially chase here if you want to get a little crafty, but otherwise, going Bo. You're leaning the underdog here, but it's a fun one. Certainly make sure you're tuned in. Can't wait for it.
Man. Yeah, so look, I am leaning Bo as well. Again, my brain is 100% leaning Bo. My heart is even leaning Bo. Like, who do I really want to see win? I want to see Bo win because it's better for the sport. It's better for longevity. It's better for every aspect of everything. But look, man, I think it'd be funny if we saw Paul Craig come out there and get a random sub out of nowhere. So give me Paul Craig, and I'm solely putting the shot on him because I think I'll be thirsty next week. So there we go. And now, folks, without further ado,
it's time
for the people's main event. Charles Oliveira coming in against Michael Chandler in a lightweight division in the co-main event of the evening. Nano, who do you have in this fight? Take the lead, my brother.
Sheesh. This is an absolute banger, my brother. 2 legends. We're running it back. This one was a title fight. It was back and forth. Chandler was so goddamn close to dicking Charles out of there, but Do Bronx found a way to dig deep and say, not today, bucko. I am the champ here. I am Do Bronx. The champion is me. Fuck, man. And honestly, I want to give Michael Chandler his flowers and just say he's a beast. He's someone that you absolutely want to root for. Both these guys can get dropped. Both these guys will probably get dropped. One will pick himself up by the bootstraps. The other guy's going to wait for him to shoot and rip his arm off, rip his leg out of its socket, or just tear his neck apart. So give me the guy that's a little bit more threatening. Give me the guy that has held the championship here in the UFC, who went out there and was able to weather the storm last time, who's a little bit younger, a little bit more well-rounded. I'm taking Do Bronx here, brother. How do you bet against the man Do Bronx? I feel bad, though, man. I really do. I don't want to have to pick against Michael Chandler. I want him to go out and fulfill his prophecy. But it's tough. It's tough. The caveat is that he did drop my boy Do Bronx in the first round last fight. If you watch that, he certainly had his number. And a part of me thinks he's just going to go out there, guns a-blazing, and just really pour it on. That will probably be my kryptonite. That may be the way he truly gets it done, is he being Michael Chandler here. when he smells blood, you gotta dive in. You gotta go full out, fuck cardio, screw it all, man. You gotta go leave it all out there. Don't give him another chance to get up or to potentially breathe. That's Michael's best chance. He's sitting at a plus 205 odds here. Charles at minus 250. He's just too gosh darn good, in my opinion, man. I've seen him weather the storms. He's coming off some wins as of recent, and honestly, maybe you can elaborate on this a little bit more if you feel any type of way about the layoff. Michael Chandler obviously has been waiting for Conor McGregor. That never formulated. It's been a while since Chandler's been in there. So is that going to pay any dividends? Does that favor him at 38 years old, or does that maybe help his body, help the recovery? I don't know, man, but this isn't the opponent where you're hoping that ring rust isn't a thing. I think even if you start off a little slow or you're not ready from pillar to post, like Do Bronx will find a way to get it out. He's gonna smell it. He's gonna hunt you down. He's a lion in there, man, and he turns that switch, and he's for the most part been able to get it done. Obviously, he lost to Islam. He had a really, really close loss to Arman Sarukian. It was a split decision. I thought he might have won it as well, just watching it as kind of a layman, and obviously rooting for Do Bronx to continue to be the guy. But, man, 34 wins for Do Bronx, 21 subs, 10 KOs. That's 31-34. I mean, just one of the best to do it, man. And this is one of the most entertaining divisions ever, past and present. All excitement all around. This should probably be its own main event, but we got Madison Square Garden pulling out all the stops here. Again, I'm leaning Do Bronx, brother. I'm stalling a little bit because a part of me wants to maybe go back on my word, but nah, man. When it's all said and done, it's Do Bronx, baby. That's the champ. What are you thinking, brother? Am I crazy? Is Chandler finally going to get to the top here? Pick himself up from the bootstraps? Is he going to fulfill the prophecy? What are you thinking, brother?
Pick himself up from the bootstraps, he said. That's funny as hell. That is funny as hell. Do I think he's going to pick himself up from the bootstraps? Nah, I don't. What I do think is that he's probably going to end up, I don't know, getting choked out. That's what I see happening, truly. I think it's just going to be a factor of maybe too much for the young man in this one. Yeah, look, I think Charles Oliveira, we've seen this fight before, right? We saw it happen previously, and in that last one, I don't think it's going to be much different. I think we're going to see the same exact version of Michael Chandler because it's the same version we see of Michael Chandler every time the man fights, right? He comes out willing to go out on his shield, and as a result, he fights with pretty subpar fight IQ, which sucks because he actually does have a pedigree of wrestling and other things, but he just doesn't use them. Instead, he goes out there and tries to be an exciting fighter that's here for a good time and not a long time. And shortly after that, it's brutality because his opponent sees the trends, sees the patterns, and just downloads the data. I think this is probably going to be more of the same for the young man. He's going to come out there, and I mean, if I had to guess how Charlie Olives is going to get it done, rear naked choke, man. Rear naked choke.
Hey,
that's what I see happening. Probably a rear naked choke. But I'm not biased or anything because I met Charlie Olives, who is arguably one of the nicest smelling people I've ever met in my life. Chael Sonnen was not wrong when he said that man smelled very good. He did. I was like, oh, wow.
Like, I need that cologne.
Like, after he rear naked choked me, I smelled better for like 2 hours. And I'm not a bad smelling guy.
I love it. I believe it.
Just saying, brother. I'm just saying. I'm keeping it real, dog. So yeah, give me Charlie Olives. Give me not only that, but give me Charlie Olives by finish, I think is probably how I would take him. And again, if you want to take Charlie Olives inside the distance, you can do that. You can do that by KO or submission at minus 200. So not terrible.
I like it. Yeah.
One unit gets you right at 1.5. So you gain a half unit for every 1 unit you're willing to bet on that one. And I think that's, as far as volatile betting goes, it's a pretty safe volatile bet, folks.
I like it, and I like where DC's head's at too, Daryl. I like where you're saying here in the chat. I doubt this fight lasts more than 2 rounds. Heck, maybe even double down on that. Maybe you do a fraction of a unit and you go first round finish Charlie Olives, or that second round like we've seen a little deja vu. We've seen it before. Because again, Chandler can come out guns blazing. Maybe he has him on his back foot. Maybe he lands a takedown early. They're dry. Charlie really can't, get it moving. He tends to start off a little bit slower. I guess, I don't know, maybe just speaking in general there. But, yeah, I like that. 1 or 2.
I mean, you
can finish.
You can put a fifth of a unit and get a little over half of a unit back on Charlie Olives in the first round. And if you don't feel super duper confident on that, what you do is you double down on it, right? You put a fifth of a unit on Charlie Olives in round 1 and a fifth of a unit on Charlie Olives in round 2. And you either get back a little over half a unit or you get back 1 whole unit off of betting a fifth of a unit on him in round 2.
Yeah.
So I think that's a solid little hedgeroni there, hedgeroni pizza. I don't see a path to victory for Michael Chandler here outside of just a flash knockout. Like if he runs forward and like throws crazy shots like he did at Dan Hooker. But look, man, Charlie Olives is no hooker. He didn't smell like one.
Classic.
Bad jokes, folks. Bad jokes. That's something you can always count on here. So we have not 1, but 2 fights left to break down, folks. We have Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic in the heavyweight division here. And then, of course, we have a little bit of a boxing bout to break down between a legend and someone who wants to be a legend very, very badly. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Folks. Nano is still nursing a cold, but you know how we do here. I'm going to pour one up because either way, win, lose, or draw, I don't love Jon Jones. A lot of you guys in the chat probably don't love him either. But you know what? He is a legend. Got to pay respects to the legends. And on no matter what, whether he wins or loses, I do think we'll see not 1, but 2 legends retire on Saturday night. We will see Jon Jones retire, and we will see Stipe Miocic retire. Stipe is over the hill as far as fighting goes. He is 42, which in fight years is definitely like pushing it, right? And I know we're going to get into the fact that a 58-year-old is fighting on Friday. But I digress. That's the next topic. Nano, this fight has weird implications. I know you're a big fan of implications. So why don't you set the scene for these implications as I go ahead and do this little Christmas gift of a shot before I have to deal with breaking down this fucking fight. And folks, again, if you're listening, if you drink. If you don't, take a sip of water, folks. But either way, we really, really appreciate you being here. If you're watching on Twitter, which it looks like right now, there's a lot more of you watching on Twitter than there are on YouTube. There are about 18 of you. So if you could do us a huge favor, head on down to the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, smash the bell for notifications. It helps tremendously. If you want to go right back to Twitter right after that, that's fine by me. But it'd really, really just make my day if you could add a handful of subs to that YouTube. Nano, tell us how this fight's going to break down, brother.
I will, brother. I will. And if y'all are looking for some cliff notes or just want to go ahead and summarize what I'm going to say here in about a tweet's length, go ahead and look on the screen here. My boy Daryl Clark is just swinging a hot bat right now. He's taking the words out of my mouth. John's going to utilize his reach. He's going to kick the SHIT out of Stipe. Knees, elbows in the clinch. And at some point, he'll take him down and probably submit Stipe or ground and pound TKO. Well put. I pretty much summarized what I'm going to say here for the next 3 minutes. So if you want to fast forward or stick around or go grab a water, do what you got to do, that's what's going to happen, okay? Jon Jones. Now, he hasn't fought since March of 2023. Obviously, he sustained that injury. His shoulder essentially ripped off the bone in a routine training exhibition. So my question is, has he had enough time to fully regain his health and strength? We're going to find out, right? I mean, he certainly looks the part. We know he's taking it serious. Pictograms or not, Jon Jones is the best at it. And unfortunately for Stipe, I think where he did go wrong, aside from, taking the fight here, calling John Jones a bitch. I mean, listen, and I'm gonna say it like this. I'm wearing the shirt, Kobe shirt here with the hush sign, because there's certain individuals in this lifetime that have that killer instinct, that have that gene that allows them to do things that are improbable, that seem nearly impossible. And why I'm wearing Mamba again is he really coined the frame Mamba mentality. And yes, I'm also describing the MMAnomaly Show, the boys here. And I'm also describing a Michael Jordan. If you've seen The Last Dance, you know Michael Jordan, man, any little edge he could try to get on an opponent, he was gonna take it, right? Infamously, he's on the show saying, yeah, this guy at dinner is like, oh yeah, hey man, good luck out there. And I internalized that, and I said, oh, good luck out there? I'm gonna crush you now. We'll see who needs good luck out there. Like anything he can get, he's gonna take it and use that edge to his advantage. And unfortunately, Stipe gave a little bit of fuel here to a fire that was already tamed. Unfortunately, now you let the tiger out this cage. Okay, so I did think he messed up there. John made it known. Oh yeah, I'm the bitch. We'll see who's the bitch now. So we're gonna see some of those lion tendencies. We're gonna see John Jones. I think the one thing Daryl left out is the eye pokes, the knee stabs, the elbows from the angles. I think they're allowing the 12x6 now.
The shoulder torquing out of socket.
Shoulder torquing out of socket. It's going to be a classic old-fashioned fight. I can't wait to see it. But Stipe, man, I mean, this is another guy, legend, obviously. Got to give credit where it's due. This is a true legend fight. Two of the best to have ever done it. They're both, again, in the twilight of their career. There's hints, retirement. I certainly think Stipe should retire. I mean, he's 42 years old. I think this is really what drew him back in, is a fight like this for legacy. But the thing with Stipe, man, like when I'm looking at it, hasn't fought since 2018. It's a long time. Oh no, excuse me, 2021. My apologies. Let me go back. His last fight was 2021, so we're talking 3-4 years ago now. Thank you, brother. Stipe hasn't fought since 2021. Now, since 2018, he has only fought Francis Ngannou twice and Daniel Cormier 3 times. Just everything about that, I'm just like, I think ring rust. I think just not really. Frankly, those guys are not gonna replicate what John Jones is gonna bring into the octagon. I mean, it's just it's a 9-day difference, and you haven't fought anyone in a long time. I mean, Stipe's tough as nails. Like, he represents, Cleveland grittiness to the fullest. But, boy, John Jones is going to go out there and put a shellacking on the boy. The odds are pretty crazy. I mean, you can get John Jones minus 625. You're getting Stipe at plus 455. I actually got a comment or a notification a little earlier before we went live. Daniel Cormier thinks it's going to be a bit closer than people are thinking. You got to take that with some heavy consideration. Like Drew said, everyone should watch DC's Ultimate Breakdown of this fight on ESPN. If anyone knows these two, it's him. Definitely gonna have to go tune in. I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
He's fought him both twice.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it, and he's shared he's shared literally 50 minutes with both these guys, and not necessarily 50 minutes, but he was scheduled to fight these guys for 50 minutes each. Obviously, some of those fights were finishes, things like that. But either way, he has more fight time against both of these men than anybody else in the UFC. So, again, just like Drew said, if there's anybody that knows him, it's him. I do have thoughts on this fight, and I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people are giving him credit for.
Talk to me, man. Lay it on us. What are you thinking?
First and foremost, Nano, always a fucking great breakdown. I am on your side on this one. I am a known John Jones hater. I trained at AKA. Big DC fanboy, so I feel like it's in my genes. I have to hate John Jones. Also, my first favorite fighter of all time was Rashad Evans. John Jones was brought up by Rashad Evans essentially at Greg Jackson Gym. He turned on him after saying they would never fight. It's literally like movie shit. It's Karate Kid, Cobra Kai. Like, it's nasty work from John Jones becoming the John Kreese, becoming the fucking Terry Silver of the MMA universe here. All right. So I'm just not a fan of him outside of the octagon. But inside, he's a fucking technician. He's a genius. He is surgical with it. But Stipe Miocic has been here a lot longer. And by here a lot longer, I don't mean the UFC because, well, John has been here longer in the UFC. Stipe, however, has been a heavyweight his entire career. And he's somebody that could have gone down to light heavyweight realistically if he wanted to. He probably could have cut a couple of extra pounds and made it down there. But he took a note out of Patty the Baddy's book, and he likes to eat, maybe. But either way, okay, either fucking way. I digress. This guy's a true heavyweight. And John Jones, whether you love him or hate him, he has made a career, folks. Let me bring it closer. Let me talk to you a little bit more intimately, okay? John Jones has made a career off of beating middleweights that decided to go up, or people that probably should have just fought at middleweight instead of light heavyweight. So I digress. Here's the thing, folks. This ain't one of them. And that's the same reason that he wants to fight Poatan instead of Tom Aspinall, right? There's a reason he doesn't want our boy. There's a reason he doesn't want our boy. Okay?
I like the build-up.
Look, folks. John Jones does not want to fight a true heavyweight, but he's fighting the best representation of a true heavyweight he can in a 42-year-old Stipe Miocic, somebody he thinks he has a chance against. By the way, in media day, I mean, his publicist really isn't doing a great job with him here lately because he said something to the tune of, I'm getting Stipe at the best time. This is the perfect time for me to get Stipe. I'm coming off of a surgery. You know, it's the perfect time in his career. He's literally saying, I'm coming off a surgery and they're giving me a gimme against a 42-year-old GOAT of heavyweight. It's fucking tough. Miss Mary 616 in the chat is saying, I don't like John as a person, but no way John loses this fight. We appreciate your opinion. And that's exactly how my co-host feels. But you know what? As a big guy that bets with his heart, I disagree. All right, folks. Here's the thing. I do think John wins this fight, but I think there's a world in which we can get paid money. Okay? So, if you think this fight is going to go the distance, raise your hand. Tough boat, right? Anybody in the chat? Nope. Do it. Let me look at anybody. Did anybody raise their hand in the chat? All right. Cool. Glad. So if that's the case, you simply take Stipe Miocic to win by KO, knockout, TKO, or submission. And you put 2 units on it. Okay? You put 2 units on it. And what does that get you? It gets you 15 units. I know. A lot of units, bruv. But I know what you're thinking. Guys, we just had this conversation. Stipe is not going to win the fight. Okay. So we cover our losses. At the very least, we break even. Actually, you know what? I'll do you one better. Yeah, fuck it. I'll do you one better. No matter what, we make money on this fight. Because I think it's safe to say that everybody thinks that somebody finishes this fight, right? You think it's going to be John Jones. I think it's going to be Stipe. Miss Mary said this is why you'll be taking shots over this fight. I love you. No. I mean, I just can't bet a shot on John Jones. I would rather drink a shot than bet a shot on John Jones. But we're here to talk about making money, folks. So you put 2 units on our guy Stipe to win inside the distance, and those 2 units turn into 15. Okay? So how do we counteract that? Right? Got to be willing to play the volatility of the game here. So we're putting 2 units on Stipe to win inside the distance, and we're putting 6 units. This is one of the bigger bets we've done on the show. But again, my co-host is confident, and if he's this confident in something, this Jive Turkey son of a bitch, then so am I. So here we go. Putting 2 units on Stipe to win inside the distance, and we're putting 6 units on John Jones to win inside of the distance. And what does that get us? Well, that gets us 8.4, which is more than 8.4, which gets us more than the 8 that we're investing. So no matter what, we cash on this. If John wins, I make a little bit of cheddar extra, float it towards next week, and I do a shot happily on next week's show. But if Stipe wins, it might as well just be like chewing a stick of double mint gum, because we're going to double our pleasure and double our funds. That's what they say, right? Double your pleasure, double your funds.
Sounds right. It's got a ring to it.
I think that's what they say.
I'll take it. I like it, brother. I like it. That's smart betting right there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like no matter what, these guys are going to get it done inside the distance. I don't think this is a fight that goes to decision. And again, if you want to be like a little bit more rambunctious with the John Jones bet, you can, right? Like you can go higher, because like if you wanted to go even 8 units on it for John Jones to get the win, you would still cash out no matter who wins that fight, as long as somebody wins within the distance. You would simply cash more if John Jones is the guy. And if you're that confident on John, I mean, that's the move. Me and Nano are gonna turkey out a little bit after we wrap and place these bets.
Oh yeah.
And we'll post them up on the Twitter. So definitely make sure you're following at MMAnomaly and at Jive Turkey Nano on all platforms, folks. And without further ado, we have a good old-fashioned boxing match to talk about here, Nano. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Oh man. What are your initial thoughts on this fight? Are you excited? What's the level of interest here?
Honestly, the interest is high. The interest is high on my end, mostly for the novelty of it. Not necessarily stoked to see Mike Tyson essentially blemish, the picture that's in my head of him in his prime, and one of the best just pure boxers we've ever seen. And man, the one thing I wanted to say too is, if he would have told me that a pair of brothers, 2 people birthed from the same mom, were able to fight 2 of the best, or just 2 of the biggest stars in boxing, and that being a Mayweather and a Tyson, I would have thought you were gonna be talking about, Julio Cesar Chavez the third, or maybe Canelo has a brother we didn't know about. I guess maybe a Tommy Fury and his brother maybe could have potentially done something like this, but no, not some glamorous boxing name or any pedigree. It is 2 YouTubers that are the ones that are fighting 2 of the best boxing legends. 2 YouTube, social media, TikTok viral, Vine stars, Disney Channel stars. Let that sink in, y'all. But aside from the novelty and for it, the gimmick being the only way we can really get boxing to be mainstream nowadays, it's on Netflix. I do find that to be pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how the numbers come out, what Netflix is willing to share. But the fight itself, honestly, I mean, Mike Tyson looks motivated. I hope he could, at a minimum, hurt Jake. I hope it could be competitive, even if Jake ends up winning, which is probably what's going to happen. I'm hoping it can be really back and forth, and we actually see, I'm sure we'll see some respect and things like that. Might be kind of slow and have maybe some slow or low moments. Yeah, obviously a lot of the clinching, things like that in boxing, right? It's like all that kind of takes away from it. I mean, we've been talking about UFC. You don't really get these clinches and break it up and regroup. So it's going to be a little bit of a different gear. But honestly, I'm excited, man. Again, I think Jake will probably win, but I'm definitely rooting Tyson. And honestly, would love to see Tyson knock his ass out.
It's just 2 brothers.
Just 2 bros, dude. It's just 2 brothers. But the whole card itself, man, I'm actually kind of excited about. I know it. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, too. I think that should be a decent bout there. Katie Taylor's going to defend her status as the undisputed super lightweight champion against Amanda Serrano. And after that, I mean, even the third card here, we got a Mario Barrios versus an Abel Ramos. That's actually a pretty good fight. Mario Barrios is someone that fought.
I'm more excited about the undercard than I am about the main event here.
Yeah, like these are some good fights, man. That dude's a stud.
Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. I'll die on this hill. Amanda Serrano won that first fucking fight. Mary watched that fight with me. Shout out Miss Mary here. Where's there? There we go. I mean, we both agreed. I think that was the night that Mary said she probably won't watch another boxing match after hearing that decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to be hard. I wouldn't blame her. You got to draw the line somewhere. And yeah, man, I think it's going to be a fun fight card. I'm trying to figure out, because I think they said it starts at like 6 or 7, or I think it's 7 Central, 6 for me, 5 for you. Yeah. So I wonder, is it similar to everything else where all the prelims will start at that time? And then Tyson and Jake should start maybe later, 8 or 9. And this is Friday, by the way, so it's not interrupting our UFC time.
Yeah, I believe it's actually going to start close. I think the Jake Paul fight's probably going to start closer to like 9:30 if I had to guess. And it is going to be airing for anyone who has Netflix. It's free on Netflix, just live streaming. So not a pay-per-view situation. It is on Netflix. I mean, this fight is going to be fun. And I got to address something in the chat here. Daryl Clark, shout out DC, been spitting fucking heat all episode. He said, I think Mike Tyson still has power, but for a man who hasn't had a pro fight since 2005 and is 58 years old, I doubt his cardio and ability to take damage from Jake. That's fair. The only thing I'd raise you is the fact that though he hasn't had a professional sanctioned bout since 2005, he did have an exhibition bout that looked a hell of a lot like a real fight between him and Roy Jones Jr. just 4 years ago on November 28th, 2020, in which he won a unanimous decision in very one-way traffic. It is upsetting, right? And Miss Mary said it was upsetting. Perfect timing. I actually just saw that as I said it is upsetting about him being a 58-year-old man. She's, of course, talking about Amanda Serrano obviously winning that fight, but I digress. They gave it to Katie Taylor. Ay. This is boxing, folks. You can't leave it in the hands of the judges, but MMA is no better, right? I definitely cannot say that MMA does judging any better than boxing. Yeah, that's a good sound effect for that. So look, man, I'm with you. These two brothers, and again, Drew, shout out. It's just two brothers. If you don't get that reference, shout out Rick and Morty, Interdimensional Cable, episode 1. Dude, it's a man that's 58 years old going against what is Jake Paul's age? Jamie, can you pull that up? Like, and he's 27 years old.
I was going to say, 20-something.
He's a fucking kid. Not even in his fight prime yet. His body is physically primed. But if you look at him, it looks like he's been eating fucking Dunkin' Donuts. Like someone gave him a couple of Christmas gift cards to Dunkin' over there. I don't know. But I can tell you this. At 58 years old, Mike Tyson is someone who, even if his fights were scripted in the past somehow, talking about Jake Paul, Mike didn't get the fucking script, right? He's someone that's going to go out there and be willing to die on his shield. I think he's somebody that's going to be tough for Jake Paul. And though I know Jake Paul is probably going to win this fight, he's kind of like John Jones for me. Like I don't want to bet on this guy. It's tough for me to ever want to bet on Jake Paul. He's also a massive favorite, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to bet on him. Now, when this fight was first announced, he was a massive favorite. And I do mean massive. Now, the fight has gone down quite a bit. If you look at the actual betting lines here, as of right now, in the recording of this show, he's only a minus 210. So Mike Tyson is only a plus 170. But you know me. Who is this? Yo! That's who it is. What's up, my friend? How we doing?
Yo,
Welcome
what
to
up?
the chat.
Good to see you.
Look, dude, you know me. I'm trying to juice the odds any way that I can. So I'm not going to bet on Jake Paul because I don't need to make the money that bad. And I also just don't like betting on these massive favorites. Even if it's only a minus 230 or a minus 210, it's not worth it for me to bet on Jake Paul when minus 210 on someone that's not proven themselves enough for me. No, it's just not worth it, brother. So good to see you. Good to see you. Who is this? Look, I found the best odds for you. They matched the Stipe to win inside the distance odds, and that's why we got to parlay a little two-piece. That's right, folks. We have the ultimate dog yard parlay here. We got Stipe Miocic to win inside the distance plus 650. Mike Tyson to win and over 1.5 knockdowns. Plus 600 on just the Mike Tyson one. Plus 650 on the Stipe Miocic ones. Fucking immigrant mentality. Steel pitch. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Joey Diaz on that one. We're talking about 5,150 odds. Am I putting big money on it? Not a fucking chance, kid. Not a chance. But I'm going to do a half unit on it because I personally think you'd maybe be crazy not to. And with that being said, I'm not going to ask you what you think of the parlay now. I don't care to hear it because I know it's crazy. I know it's batshit insane. If I had to name it, I would call it the same shit that every other MMA capper is calling these parlays, the Don't Tell Parlay. That's the MMAnomaly Don't Tell Parlay of the day. It's the pitch inside the distance and fucking Mike Tyson 1.5 knockdowns over and the fucking win. But I digress. No. The question I do want you to answer is this. Thanks. Who's this? Don't tell him. Don't tell him, huh? What I do want to hear your opinion on is this. Who has more of a chance to win via finish? Stipe Miocic or Mike Tyson?
Probably Mike. I'd definitely give it to Mike. I mean, listen, man, we're talking about one of the best KO artists of all time. That didn't go away, baby. And Jake, I mean, he's been hurt, but I don't think he's been punched. And I don't care how old Mike is. Like, he's got to be a harder puncher than a Nick Diaz, or excuse me, a Nate Diaz, even a Tyron Woodley at that point in his career. Maybe Tyson Fury can maybe deliver one, but like, dude, we're talking Mike in the pocket. Like, dude, he's and even just the boxing IQ. Like, I think he can catch Jake. Like, he could surprise him, and that's really all it is. It's not as much about just pure, hey, I'm gonna put you in the face, and the hardest ones that knock me out. A lot of the times, it's the one you don't see coming, and that's where Mike, if anybody knows how to, sing some sweet chin music, it's Iron Mike, baby. So, I think he's definitely more live for a knockout. In fact, I'd probably put my bottom dollar there versus Stipe upsetting the GOAT at really what he does best, man. And not necessarily fully out of his prime just yet. Yeah. I think Iron Mike can get it done. I think he'll get a knockdown. I would bet a knockdown if that's on there. But to knock out Jake or to 10 count him, a little tougher. But I think he'll knock him down. Maybe even a liver shot can really do it, dude. I'm telling you, a liver shot might be the one. That's live.
See, that's the thing. I think he gets a liver shot on Jake and knocks him down.
Yeah.
I truly do. And I just started a poll on the YouTube. So if you're over on the Twitter, please make your way over to the YouTube, even if at the very least just to vote on this poll. I'm just curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Which is the more competitive fight? Stipe Miocic versus John Jones or Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Again, just curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I truly think that a lot of people are counting out Stipe Miocic just because he's 42. He has not been, very, very active, but at the same time, I do think he's going to be a competitive fight for John Jones, man. But when it comes to this boxing match, which is what we're talking about, look, Jake is looking soft. He's looking super soft, right? In the midsection there. He's looking real, little chunky monkey there. He's put on some weight to take on this big monster of a man in Mike Tyson, and it shows, right? You can tell he's been putting on the pounds. I don't know if that's the move. And also you can see in his sparring footage, the partners that he's training with, I mean, they're no Mike Tysons. They're throwing very linear shots, like straight down the pipe and like hooks from a linear position. Whereas Mike is like, he's fucking outside the pocket, right? Like, I mean, I'm mimicking Mike Tyson better sitting in a fucking office chair than Jake Paul's fucking sparring partners are standing and banging with the kid. So, two things to take away from that. One, Jake should probably be training with some better guys. And two, Jake, holler at your boy next time you need a guy for the fight camp. But seriously, like, Jake's dropping these guys, but who are they? Are they actual, like, world-class boxers? Are they Mike Tysons of the world, or even, you know, people that have emulated a similar career or a similar facet of skills as Mike Tyson? I simply don't know that that's the case, Nano. So, though Jake is 27 years old and Mike Tyson is 58 years old, I gotta believe in the fairy tale. I'm gonna light a Jesus candle on Friday before I go to pick up fucking Drew. It's just two brothers himself from the airport, so he can come watch that fight and then 309 with me. Give me the legend. Give me Mike Tyson. And if Mike Tyson loses, somebody clip this. Undisputed boxing game. We need you to put Mike Tyson and Jake Paul in there, so that way we can have our retribution, depending on how this goes on Friday.
We need some restitution. Let's go.
Restitution.
I like it, brother. I like it. Why not, bro? You know, this weekend it feels like something special's in the air. And why not? You know, you can bet with your heart, you can bet with your brain, you can bet with other people's, you know, opinions. We're betting right here, baby. We're going with our heart. That's all. That's what it's all about. We're having fun with it now. I can't wait, brother. Friday and then Saturday. That's back to back. Let's go.
Back to back. We've also got a karate combat card. Like we have a handful of fight cards coming up here, man. Like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a fun weekend.
Dude, something real quick that I thought about that I guess we didn't really bring it up earlier in the week, but RDR Rainier, how he mentioned his comments about ONE FC. Do you have any? For those that didn't hear, he basically was saying that if you were thinking, I think almost verbatim, if you are considering fighting at ONE FC, don't. That they don't treat you well. Man, definitely something that I thought was interesting. Maybe quickly talk through, since we're talking about miscellaneous things at this point. But I wonder if that's something that might be indicative of other FCs as well, of other fighting organizations. You know, is what kind of quality of service are they getting, or all that? I mean, we know the UFC is obviously the cream of the crop, the mecca, but to think that they're not getting little things like hotels or food or
fights,
anything, fights, money.
RDR literally mentioned that in the post-fight press.
Money, yeah, fights.
He said, "There's nothing waiting for you at ONE FC. There are no fights.
There are no fights.
Brother, it is a fight promotion."
Oh God!
And dude said, "There are no fights for you there. If there's no fights, how can I expect there to be money, brother?
Why am I going to fight here?
Just choke me out already, dog."
I guess I'm not really fighting here. I'm just here collecting dust.
What the hell?
Yeah, so that's brutal.
Yeah, I definitely have thoughts on that. That's why I threw up the response loading thing there, because I just needed a second to compose it.
Load the response.
Load the response. Look, man, we have a homie that worked for ONE FC. He has had nothing bad to say about them, but he also doesn't work for them anymore. So that doesn't say a great amount about them either. So look, the people that have said bad things about ONE FC have quickly deleted them. Those people also still fight for ONE FC or got re-signed by ONE FC. So I can tell you this. They put on really great Muay Thai events. Shout out S-Dogs MMA for putting on a hell of a show. A little watch along there, watching that just last weekend. Me and Bear were watching with them. But they should really just stick to Muay Thai, because realistically, like, these guys are putting on really good Muay Thai events, but they're not putting on really great MMA events. And the pacing, I mean, the only time I've ever seen an MMA, or not an MMA, a UFC card with pacing quite as bad as ONE FC or Bellator was this last weekend. Oh, and by the way, like what, 80%, 90% fucking finish rate for these fights? Yeah, it makes sense. When one has a bad pacing setup, it's not even due to finishes. It's just due to poor production and poor timing and scheduling situations. So there's a lot to be learned there. And aside from production value, like, the reason I'm bringing up production value when this guy's talking about fights and there's nothing for you there is this. I was asked today by another person that's trying to do a podcast. They just did their first episode. Shout out to them. I'll throw a comment underneath here after the episode, so that way you have their just because I don't know it off the top of my head. Apologies, my friend. We met in London. But anyways, the reason I'm saying this all is because they asked me, like, what would you say is like a tip that you would have to someone that's getting started? And I told them, like, audio quality. Audio quality is everything. Because if somebody's listening to you, it doesn't matter if they're watching you. If you sound bad, they're not going to watch you very long, right? Doesn't matter if you look good, bad, or ugly. They're going to tune off the train wreck if they can't hear it well, right? Because audio is a very, very important thing. And so is visual. It's the next thing that you'd notice. So if I'm listening to the fights and I'm watching the fights, and in between every fight, there's 20 to 30 minutes of dead time or time of your announcers talking and killing space and showing pointless ads over and over again. You're losing me, right? I'm now watching YouTube or Instagram clips on my fucking phone, and I'm not even paying attention to the broadcast. So that's a situation that I find myself falling into more often than not when I watch a one card. The pacing is awful. It's awful. When they're fighting, especially if I can like mute it and listen to Sterling and three other dudes that I like fucking dig that are chatting about the fights, it's a lot more entertaining. So, I mean, there's room for improvement with their announcers. There's room for improvement with their production. There's room for improvement with their overall quality of pacing and event structure. And if I'm talking about all of that as a consumer, I'm literally just here to sit my ass in a seat and enjoy the product. And I have this many surface level complaints about the product. I can't imagine what their employees, AKA the fighters, have to complain about. So good on you to bring it up, and even better on RDR to bring it up post-win in the UFC. You got to think Dana White was fucking disconnecting from the internet to make a quick phone call to Hunter and say, Hunter, go ahead and give this guy a title shot, please. Because he's saying all the right things about our competitors.
Oh yeah, he probably clipped that and put it as his ringtone, or they play it before their meetings, or all that fun stuff. Well
when
said,
Dana
though, brother.
White gets a text, you literally just hear RDR's voice say, "If you're thinking about going to one, don't."
The UFC is the absolute best. The best in the world.
It is the best.
It is the best, the absolute best.
I tell you. Oh, man.
I mean this. Listen to me. I love it,
So
brother.
look, man, look, I'm excited about all these fights. I am the child in me, the kid that was born in the 80s in me, dating myself a little bit here. I gotta root for Mike Tyson, and I gotta be excited about a Mike Tyson fight. Roy Jones Jr. is my favorite, like one of my favorite boxers of all time. It's him and Prince and Nassim Hamed for me. Again, I'm aging myself a little bit here, but like these are my two favorite boxers of all time. So when I saw Mike Tyson come back out of retirement and Roy Jones Jr. come out of retirement, I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. We always wanted this, and we got it. And I was like, oh man, Roy Jones Jr. is just too old. But I'm like, but I think Tyson's older. What the fuck is happening right now? And he looked good in that fight. And it's almost as if like they told both guys, this is going to be an exhibition. You guys don't go out there and try to hurt one another. This is a friendly contest for charity kind of situation. And like Roy Jones Jr. was like, yeah, I got you. And Mike's like, yeah, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to knock him out. So like, it felt like one guy was out there trying to hurt the other and the other not so much. And
I don't think he has that off switch, does he?
I don't think he does. I truly don't. And that's why, like, again, I feel like I have a coworker who has a friend that is an OnlyFans model. I'm not going to name the OnlyFans model, but she is like in the top 1%. And I, after hearing this story from my coworker, looked it up, and they follow each other on all social media. So they definitely went to high school together. Show me pictures of them together. It's pretty wild. This person made like over $20 million last year. Anyways, I digress. This person knows Jake Paul. This person used to hang out with Logan Paul, has been on Impulsive. And she told my coworker that the Jake Paul fights are fixed. Or at least that they have been thus far. Now, I have been an avid speaker of them not being fixed just because I like to believe in the integrity of the sport of combat. But as we know, boxing has been corrupt for quite some time. Now, I'm saying all of this to say, sound the fucking bell, kids. Mike Tyson, even if you tell him the fix is in, I mean, he might as well be battling Jack Murdoch from Marvel Comics. You're going to shoot that dude in the back of the head after he knocks out the fighter he's supposed to lose to. And it's just how it works, right? Like, look, I tried to put him to bed, but the killer's back alive again. Like, Mike's going to go out here and just fucking get this dude, I feel. I know Jake's younger. I know he's stronger. I know he's in this physical peak. But give me Mike Tyson here, man. I like him a lot. I'll never root for Jake or against Mike Tyson. It's like a double entendre, bro. I'm not using that in the right way, but here we are.
But it fits. It felt right. It's provocative. No one knows what it means.
Gets the crowd going.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I truly think Mike Tyson's gonna separate Jake from consciousness and just have him looking for his wit. Like, where are you? I'm gonna use that soundboard as much as I can.
That's a good one.
And we'll have to get a Mike Tyson for this podcast, or I'll just keep doing really poor Mike Tyson impressions. Either way, folks, please let us know after this episode wraps in the comments. It helps tremendously. You wouldn't believe with the algorithm. It's huge. In the comments below, as soon as this episode wraps, let us know which fight on UFC 309 you're most excited about and who you have winning the main events of UFC 309 and Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. If you do that, you'll be automatically entered for a contest to win some MMAnomaly merch, as well as possibly some other things, folks. So make sure you do that. And before that, above all else, the one thing we really want to make sure you do each and every episode is keep on going and keep on growing, folks. We appreciate each and every one.
You've been listening to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. As you may have been able to tell, we dig the MMA, and our passion is to dive deep into the upcoming fights, give you our expert breakdowns, and help you make sense of all the chaos that is the fight game. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at MMAnomaly. Be cool, and we'll see you next time.